Swagatam, welcome, Vande Mataram. Yesterday was the 80th anniversary day of our independence. Customarily, the Prime Minister of India addresses the nation from the ramparts of the Red Fort. So Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, addressed the nation, and the nation listened in rapt attention. I did not rush to provide my analysis of the contents of the Prime Minister's speech. I thought I would wait and sample the responses from everyone else so that I can limit myself to what I have to say and not repeat the views of others. So I invite you to consider with me the significance of the Prime Minister's very important speech delivered yesterday. And this formed the subject of media discussion for the hours thereafter. So therefore, I'm justified in offering my bit of analysis, reflection, insights, etc. To me, the most significant aspect of this speech is that through the speech, the Prime Minister was putting the cockroaches of India on notice. I repeat, this will be my approach all the way through. What was the Prime Minister mainly doing in his 75 minutes long speech? He was putting the cockroaches of India on notice. And I'm going to explain exactly how I arrive at this conclusion. But before that, we must first take note of the concerns that are very dear to our Gen Z, our cockroaches. Roughly speaking, they are employment, education, gender justice, ecology, freedom of expression and association, aversion to all forms of authoritarianism and agendas of homogenization, whether it be in the name of religion or politics, etc. They are certainly averse to blind faith or andha bhakti or orthodoxy in politics, orthodoxy in religion. They are also resentful of all forms of authority. This is, roughly speaking, the general features of our present-day Gen Z. Paucity of time doesn't allow me to take up each one of them for discussion. Perhaps that is not necessary either. We'll see how the Prime Minister addresses these things in his own fashion in the course of the speech. As regards employment, the Prime Minister states his intention to train 1 crore youth in AI-related skills. 1 crore youth annually. Every year, 1 crore young people, 1 crore cockroaches of India will be trained in AI-related skills. Whether or not any provision will be made to secure some employment for them or employment even for 10% of them is not stated at all. Or even for that matter, whether we have today the means and the infrastructure for undertaking this project is also not mentioned. But a hope is projected, and there it stands. So with that, the Prime Minister thinks that the unrest that the youth of India are facing in relation to the abysmal unemployment situation in India will be allayed. Whether he is proved right or not, we shall wait and see. The second important note he strikes is this. Taking into account the Gen Z's concern for issues pertaining to ecology, the Prime Minister declares his intention that he will switch over to green economy. And therefore, one important concern of Gen Z is accommodated into the symphony of his culture of governance. Now, at the same time, about 8 to 9 lakh trees are going to be cut in Andaman and Nicobar, particularly Nicobar, in order to create a port there So the intention to have, intention to switch over green economy on the one hand, and at the same time, a massive blow on the integrity of creation by destroying thousands, lakhs and lakhs of trees. But nobody should question these things, and I'll come to that a little later. The Prime Minister also declared his intention to champion the cause of women in India by pushing the women's reservation issue. The law has already been passed, but he wants to tag it with the delimitation issue for political reasons. So whether the Prime Minister is genuinely and passionately committed to the cause of women in India is an issue that I leave to the spokesperson of persons of the women's interests, women's lobbies to discuss. So some of these issues are therefore addressed nominally without giving any action plan. Now, let's also look at the two major warnings that the Prime Minister, in my opinion, issues to our cockroaches. One, when Prime Minister says that we must now put the nation before the self, it's clearly an advice which actually is tantamount to a warning to the Gen Z, because what was enacted at Jantar Mantar was the combined accumulated resentment, the energy of the resentment of India's youth because of the abysmal employment situation. So they're thinking only for themselves, they're not thinking for the nation. Now, if Prime Minister Modi and his party, the BJP, will prioritize the nation above the interest of BJP is a question I shall not discuss now, because a lot of information is in the public domain and I don't have to spend time repeating the obvious. So there's an advice given to the youth saying you are actually on the wrong path. This is not what you should be doing. You forget all your woes, all your problems, all your anxieties by thinking for the country and the country alone. I'm reminded in this context of that great speech by John F. Kennedy, my fellow countrymen, ask not what America can do for you, but what you can do for America, and what we together can do for the world beyond. So it's a kind of ironic echo of John F. Kennedy's speech, but in the Indian context, it takes on an entirely different color altogether, particularly the immediate context. Second is an even more sinister warning. He warns the cockroaches of India without connecting the two in a very clever manner, avoiding their connection. He warns, issues a warning. He warns the cockroaches of India against their becoming dimagi naxals, or naxals of thought. If you think, you become anti-national elements. So there is a change in lingo, terminology from urban naxals to thinking naxals. Okay. Now, so the cockroaches must correct their ways and think not for themselves but for the nation if they are not to become anti-national dimagi naxals. It's a very clear warning with very sinister echoes, undertones and warnings. Surely the Prime Minister is right. The more the youth in India think today about their plight, the more restless they will become. So the solution is very simple: prevent the youth of India from thinking about themselves and the problem is solved. So that's the logic. So all the problems today, particularly the problems enacted at Jantar Mantar for about 3 weeks, resulted from the inclination of the youth of India to think about their plight. And therefore, Jantar Mantar would not have happened if the youth of India had not thought for themselves. So that's the idea. So rather than expect the government to help them, they should now think of helping the government. Don't expect the government to help you. Now you better think of helping the government, and the Prime Minister goes on to identify a particular area where the cockroaches can help the government. They can donate 2 hours per day to help of all bodies, the Election Commission of India, by uploading digital data so that the ECI records are rendered more accurate, admitting thereby that the Election Commission was doing a shoddy piece of work over the last 12 years. So, the Prime Minister clearly advises the cockroaches of India that they should not think about the terrible state of education in India, the mega corruption that is ruining our education system, the staggering incompetence in conducting examination, as has been revealed through the fiasco called the NEET examination and many other examinations, about 152 question paper leaks. So you can imagine how reliable and how healthy our system is. So don't think about it, don't talk about it. Don't talk or think also about the employment morass. Instead, donate your time to the ECI. And this is particularly significant given the fact that the cockroaches of India have expressed their very strong resentment of how the Election Commission of India is functioning at the present time. It's in that context that the Prime Minister from the ramparts of the Red Fort on this very august occasion advises them to donate 2 hours per day to the Election Commission of India. The third significant or interesting thing that the Prime Minister says to the youth of India is that rather than thinking about their plight and feeling depressed, dispirited, even to the extent of some of them committing suicide, they should maintain themselves continually in a euphoric state by singing Vande Mataram. Sing Vande Mataram and fill yourself with nationalistic fervor. Then you will forget all your woes, all your sorrows, all your problems. So, how euphoric the singing of Vande Mataram can be has been demonstrated by the BJP enthusiasts yesterday. They all came together to sing Vande Mataram in full. So I would like to give you a taste of the most patriotic singing of Vande Mataram. So you have an idea how inspiring this exercise can be. And mind you, this is a rendering of Vande Mataram by the BJP enthusiasts in Kerala. Now, simple common sense. The Prime Minister says, don't think, but please allow me to think with you a little bit. If you value a song, will you not learn it properly? Will you not show some respect for its tune, some respect for its meaning, some respect and some sensitivity to its words? So, the political rhetoric is one thing, and the real sincerity of heart is quite a different thing. And if the Prime Minister thinks that the youth of India can forget their existential problems that worry them to suicide, by simply singing Vande Mataram, particularly in this inspiring manner, then I find it very difficult to accept that logic. This is not a question of Keralites singing Vande Mataram. I've been watching several people, including members of parliament, standing up while Vande Mataram was sung in the parliament. I was looking at the treasury benches. I was looking at Prime Minister Modi. He could not utter a single word of Vande Mataram. You please go through that recording. It is there in the public domain. Amit Shah was trying to sing it, but I did not see my Prime Minister, who is full of enthusiasm for Vande Mataram, who thinks that Vande Mataram is the ultimate pinnacle of Desha Bhakti, uttering one word of that beautiful lyric. I have no problem in singing Vande Mataram. It's a beautiful song, particularly the version by our great what's that music director? What's his name? Oh, Vande. Please forgive me. I can't get this. Rahman. A.R. Rahman. Sorry, A.R. Rahman. Sorry. So when I hear the rendering by A.R. Rahman, my heart fills with enthusiasm. But look at the way these people are actually killing that beautiful song. And I find it very difficult to believe that this comes out of nationalistic fervor, sincere and passionate feeling towards the country, Desh Bhakti, etc. Anyway, so now I would like to draw your attention to a few things that I consider to be very significant regarding the Prime Minister's speech. Number one, it is extraordinarily ironic that the Prime Minister is criminalizing independent thinking. That's why I pointed out earlier, the Prime Minister wants the young people not to think, not to become anti-national elements by becoming thinking people. So that I have already pointed out. So it is strikingly, in fact, heartbreakingly ironic that on the anniversary of our independence, the Prime Minister, from the ramparts of Red Fort, exhorts the youth of India not to think, not to commit this anti-national act of thinking, so they don't become Naxals, thinking Naxals. Can you imagine? Now, I found that particularly shocking. Whether this irony struck others or not, I don't know. But I felt devastated by this. On the other hand, if the Prime Minister is really concerned about the future of India, even the present well-being of India, if he is really committed to the progress of India, and in order to secure the progress of India, to unleash the full energy of India, he would do all he can to promote a culture of thinking. Because human progress has been facilitated only by thinking and not by blind faith. At least one expects the Prime Minister of a great country like India to have that much of historical sense. Okay, so please remember that India became independent because of the power of thought. You think of Gandhi as a Mahatma. I have taken trouble to study Gandhi. He is one of the most powerful thinkers India ever produced. But the only thing is that Gandhi hides the profundity and sharpness of his thought behind his simplicity, that's all. Because he is a man of truth. All people, all those who consider or value truth, they will also embrace simplicity. That's a very interesting point in itself, but since that is not central to my argument, I'll just close over it. So, if you actually discredit thinking and promote a culture of blind, slavish conformity, we will only produce a nation of andhbhakts, blind believers. And andhbhakts or blind believers can never be pioneers. They can only be imitators. They will never develop their creative capacity. They will never have initiative. They will never be able to do justice to their potential. It's a very serious issue. Please understand the gravity of this matter. Next point. The Prime Minister also declares that he will make India, or he'll turn India into a hub of innovators. Now, I'm sure you can see the glaring contradiction between his attempts to criminalize thinking and his stated intention to turn India into a hub of innovation. How can innovation ever happen without the capacity to think? Now, I come to the most significant thing that I want to share with you. knowingly or unknowingly, the Prime Minister has inaugurated a very significant historic struggle between two centers of energy, two centers of power. The Gen Z on the one hand and the establishment on the other. That's what he has done. Whether he's aware of that or not, I don't know, but I'm very sure that this is the outcome, and you will see the truth of what I'm saying in course of time. July 20th will be remembered by historians as a turning point in our process of nation building. Let's call it BC, before cockroaches. The period of India up to the 20th of July 2026 is BC, before cockroaches. And after the 20th of July 2026, it is AC for India, after cockroaches. It is that significant an event that was enacted, that played out at Jantar Mantar. So, what the Prime Minister has done is to state his intention to fight off what this very significant change, this very significant period of transition proffers or holds out as a prospect. So therefore, his Independence Day speech is a declaration of intent. Declaration of intent. He clearly intends to fight off the prospect, the possibility, the energy, the enthusiasm, the determination that Gen Z or cockroaches have displayed at Jantar Mantar, which forced the government to grudgingly finally accept the resignation or force the resignation of one of the cabinet members, which was unthinkable till then. Now, when I look at this pattern, namely the establishment spearheaded by Modi and Shah, trying to protect the establishment and the status quo with all the strength and muscle power they have, on the one hand, and the Gen Z, armed and equipped only with enthusiasm and time on their side. So here is a epic confrontation between two very well-defined blocks. When I think of this pattern, I'm reminded of a very interesting German author by the name Walter Benjamin. Walter Benjamin. Benjamin compares history or progress in history to a bird sitting on a hill. Assume this to be a hill. A bird is sitting. Progress in history is this bird sitting here. Okay? And this bird has its head turned backwards, but its wings are outspread, and a powerful wind is blowing. And that wind is almost lifting the bird from the hilltop to carry it forward. But the bird is looking backwards. That's how Walter Benjamin pictures or imagines the force of progress in history. By instinct, the bird looked backwards. So human nature is always backward looking. But the force of history compels a forward movement. That's the imperative of history. And no matter who wants to perpetuate the old order, history will have the last laugh. And therefore, those who are aligned to the power and the logic of history will prevail. If you endorse that insight by Walter Benjamin, which I do, I have no hesitation in saying that the future will belong to Gen Z and not to Modi, Amit Shah and their ilk, people of their ilk. The outdated custodians of the status quo will have to give way to the new generation, because that is how progress takes place. When we have a quick bird's eye view of the great historical journey that we have undertaken, We have witnessed this pattern several times. The great empires have risen and fallen. 23 great civilizations have perished. They had men greater than Modi and Shah. And their contemporaries thought that they could never be dislodged. But history has the last laugh. And history will use very insignificant instruments like cockroaches to accomplish its agenda. And this is something that, as I pointed out in one of my earlier videos, that the German philosophers like Hegel and Immanuel Kant also endorse. That history has a momentum, a logic, and a purpose of its own. And irrespective of how individuals and groups and parties and blocs are disposed, the ultimate plan of history, what's called the pattern of history, will prevail. And in that process, even seemingly insignificant centers of energy like the cockroaches will be used. And therefore, in the long run, they will prove far more powerful than those who today look like men of steel, invincible, awesome in their grip on the life of the nation and its resources. They will succumb to the logic of history, because there is nothing in history that makes us believe otherwise. So, even as the Prime Minister of India uses this very symbolic, ceremonial, august occasion to make this long speech, wherein he does not say a word about India's development, about how he proposes to solve the various problems of India, whether or not he is committed to the unity of India, whether he will from now onwards think of himself as the Prime Minister of the whole of India and not as the Prime Minister of a party, whether he has any intention to allow democratic institutions to have their required level of autonomy. None of these issues that are really uppermost in our minds. Whether he will respect freedom of press, etc. Not a word about any of these things. He has merely declared his intention in a very subtle, indirect fashion to take on India's cockroaches and parasites, to make sure that they will not have their way, and that very soon attempts will be made to clip their wings and, if possible, to crush this movement. And therefore, if the office bearers and leaders of the Cockroach Janata Party are sensible, they will take the warning and prepare themselves for the storm that's about to break out. Well, I feel greatly excited about India's legacy of freedom. On this occasion, I cannot but pay my tributes to Mahatma Gandhi, the apostle of India's freedom. From Gandhi to the present day, my dear friends, what a falling off is there. I'm reminded of the words of Hamlet in Shakespeare's major tragedy. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. God save India. God bless India. Jai Hind. Vande Mataram.